Hi everyone, it's Diana Rankin coming to you for the week of May 7th to the 13th. That's Sunday to Saturday, so the 7th through the 13th, with some predictions and certainly a soul message for each of us, and we'll see about the predictions. You might be able to hear, it's right outside my window, there are a couple of wren boxes, and you might be able to hear them chirping and singing happiness to us today while we speak. I don't know if that will come through on the video or not, but they're right outside. You might even see one flit around. It is a rather cold day here where I am in rural Ohio for early May. We're about, oh, I don't know, 10, 15 degrees lower, colder than it normally is. And just a week ago, we were about 20 degrees or 10 or 15 degrees higher than we normally are this time of the year. And those kinds of weather patterns are going to continue, as are the very strange weather patterns we're having around the world, not just here in the U.S. Not only are the strange weather patterns going to continue, but the strange political patterns are going to continue. Right now, there's so much fear in the world, not just in the U.S., but in the world. And until we can counteract that fear with more love, fear is going to rule the political scene. When fear rules the political scene, we tend to go very far to the right. But I remind you, every pendulum swings back and forth, and eventually it settles in the center, which is where I think the vast majority of people live. We don't live to the far left, we don't live to the far right, we live in the center. And in the center, we make decisions based on what's best for the majority, not what's best for far one way or far other, but what's best for the majority. We've lost that in the U.S. I'm afraid Europe's losing that as well. We're not looking at what's best for the majority. We're looking for what's best for who yells the loudest. And unfortunately, who yells with the meanest voice sometimes. The ugliest voices are winning right now. And I hate to even use that word, winning. Let's just say the ugliest voices are in power in many areas. Not in all, certainly not in every country, but in some countries, and including my own. And I think Europe is experiencing the same thing. It will not last. It's going to last a little bit longer. We're not through it yet. I'd like to tell you it'll be over by June, but no, we're in here for a little bit longer than that. However, that said, the future is liquid. This is the time when the ancient mythologies tell us, the ancient stories tell us, all the secrets are going to come out. Who would have known it would be body cameras and videos and the internet? Who could have guessed even that when we started hearing that all the secrets will come out? And you may not know, but my master's degree is in how the sacred is expressed across cultures and throughout history. So I have a deep interest in history, and I don't know everything about history, certainly, but I've studied enough to know that we are in an era where all of those secrets are going to come out, but that creates upheaval. When secrets start coming out, it creates upheaval. When people start developing their spirituality, and by spirituality, I'm not talking religion. The two can be the same. Religion and spirituality can be the same, but what I'm seeing too often in today's world, especially with the radical religions, is spirituality has nothing to do with religion. And that's sad, because I do think that religion is needed in our world for many people. Many, many years ago, I had a conversation with a woman who kept inviting me to church, and I kept saying, you know, it's not what I want to do. And she said, well, I want to know what you believe. And she said, but I'm only going to listen to you if you'll go to church with me one Sunday. So out of kindness for my friend, I went to church with her, and afterwards we had a conversation. And she said, okay, I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain because you held up your end of the bargain. So tell me now what you believe. And so I told her that I do believe in a higher power, but it is part of all of us. It's our spiritual self that's connected. It's our soul self, and we are all connected. And she said, well, don't you believe in Jesus telling you what to do? And I said, no, I don't believe that that's where I get my power, my information from. That higher power comes from a source that we all are connected to. Whether we call it God, or we call it the universe, or we call it the Godhead, or we call it Creator. Yes, there's something so much greater than my human self. And we all can tap into that and gain wisdom from it. We all can tap into that because we are our brothers and sisters. And she looked at me and she got very serious and she said, boy, that takes, how do you know what's right or wrong? And I said, our higher selves guide us, and it always, that higher power will always guide us in a way of love, will always guide us in a way that is helpful to life. It'll never hurt life, even though we may have hurts in our life. People might leave our lives, and that's very painful, for example. And I said, but the higher power will always guide us in love. And she sat back, very serious, and she said, that takes a lot of self-responsibility, doesn't it? Well, my friends, that's your magical phrase for this, or magical word for this week. Self-responsibility. Gosh. You know, this goes back a few years too, but I was married at the time, and my husband and I were in London visiting, touristing, and we noticed in the hotel room that there was like a teapot or a coffee pot, and there was hot water to pour in and make coffee or tea. And there wasn't a sign like you'll find in American hotels that said, no big sign that says, beware, this is really hot, you could hurt yourself. And we both noticed that, and we started laughing about it because we said, you know, Americans are infamous, if we will, or perhaps famous. I don't know which we want to think of ourselves as, but Americans are great for not taking self-responsibility. We have those signs in our hotel rooms that say, beware, this is hot and it'll hurt you. And that probably comes from so many lawsuits, but it also comes from a sense of there's a big brother taking care of us. There's somebody that's going to save us from our lives and from ourselves. And so this is the week that we in America need to take lessons from those in other countries who know what self-responsibility is, and we need to take self-responsibility. We need to take responsibility for our actions, for our thoughts, for our words, because what we think, what we feel, what we emote, what we do goes out into the world. And it's what causes peace, or it's what causes the wars. So let's stop disrupting our world so much, and let's add peace to it. Let's take some self-responsibility. And this week, we are all going to have plenty of opportunities to take self-responsibility. Let's see what Philip has to say. For those of you who are new to my videos, I welcome you. For those who have been here before, thanks so much for coming back. And thank you so much for your loving comments. I can't tell you how much they touch me, and they just help me to continue to do this and feel so good about it, because I feel like I am making a difference in the world, and I know each of you are too. Back to Philip. Philip is my spirit guide, and this is a book he gave me. He gave me this book actually back in 1987, but it wasn't published till, wow, I want to say maybe 15 years later. I think, I forget the publishing date on this, I'd have to look. But anyway, each page has a different saying on it. And it when we flip through, we have to think left or right page. So you ready? You're thinking left or right? I'm hearing right, and here's where my thumb stops. So let's see what the right page says. This was our message for last week. And so I'm going to also um, read it again this week because this is where we stop. When you dwell in darkness, it is hard to see the light. When you dwell in darkness, it is hard to see the light. Well, I think that's a pretty important message. And that we got it 2 weeks in a row is even more important. I think it was last week, or it might have been for the whole month of May. I don't recall right now. But when we dwell in darkness, when we see only what's wrong, whether it's the political situation or our next door neighbor, when we see only what's wrong, we're unable to see the light. And what's so important in our lives right now, what is absolutely necessary, is to see the light, to be the light. Every time one of us makes a decision to heal a pattern in our lives, we create a pathway in our brain for new thoughts and ideas to enter. And we create a pathway in the energy of the world for others to be able to follow. And so when I heal something within me and create new pathways for that healing in my life, then whatever was triggering the old energy or the old pattern is now going to trigger into the new pattern. That's not easy work, and it takes work again and again and again. And it starts with really loving ourselves and knowing that we're worth it. It starts with understanding that what we say and what we do really has an impact in the world. So that's really important, my friends. So love yourself, love each other. That's not to say you put up with bull. Boundaries are important and they're necessary. And do we hold our political leaders' feet to the fire? Absolutely. But if we do so with anger, it's not going to work. Anger bounces back and it doesn't solve the problems. So get angry, let that motivate you, and then let the anger float away like a cloud floats away. And move into the love and take action from love. This is the week to take self-responsibility. Thank you for being with me this week. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful you're adding love to the world. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for accepting that love. Until next week, goodbye.